Okay, good morning. So we're now up to Siman Kuf Samaches. There are two short seifim we'll do today to finish off the Siman. What we're going to discuss today is we're finishing off all Pasabo Kisnin and bread, what's mazonis. So today, in Hashem, we'll get to Bourekas and things like that. So it says the Mechaber in Siman Tes, in Sif Tes Zayin, Nahamo de Hindaka. So this is some sort of dough which is put on a spit, which you put in an oven. For who lechem sha'ifin b'shpud, it's lechem which is put on a spit, or moishchin or b'shem, and you cover it in oil, or b'mei or with watery egg liquid. For chein lechem also lekutach, and so to bread which is made for dipping into, for making kutach, which is like a dip, a milky sort of dip. She'ein oifin so b'tana el b'chamo. It's not baked in an oven in a conventional way, but rather in the sun. Mevarech olav beirei minei mazonis. So for these sort of things, they're not conventional, they're not cooked conventionally, and therefore you've got a din of mazonis, says the Mishnah Berurah. V'hu tzadi aleph v'hu lechem koloimar botzek. It's like a dough. The lechem she'ofu b'shpud lechem gomo. Because if it's proper bread which is baked on a spit, then that would be okay. But this is more of a dough, and it's not proper bread. Mevarech olav berim ne mazonis hainu afilu b'dekavir alayu. So even if you have a lot of it, it never gets the status of bread, and you would never make hamoitzi and b'rechas hamazon. V'ayin betur dim osa arucha v'noeh kein gluska mevarech olav hamoitzi. But if it's arranged nicely in the form of a roll, then indeed you would make hamoitzi on it. V'ashulchan aruch hishmit ein v'magen avram v'elirava bi'agro mashekosfu b'zeh. V'al kol ponim lechol mizeh k'dei svia bevada yesh lizoy shlo lechol ki'im b'toich hasuda. But in that situation, if it looks like then it's best to have it b'toich hasuda. If you look at 69, interesting, he talks about bread which is baked in a microwave. Now, I didn't know you can bake bread in a microwave, but apparently you can. But the poskim he brings it, Shlem Zalman, Yashav, and Vosna, they all say that bread baked in a microwave, she'afshiv a microgel, einoi nechshav katan, even though it's not really considered an oven, mishum she'ein boi eish, mikol makom kim she'esh letam ofu kelechem nechshav kelechem. It tastes like bread, and therefore it's got the status of bread in halacha. Mavorchin olav hamoitzi b'rechas hamazon afal pi she'ein krimas panu, even though it's not it doesn't get crusty, but it's still got a din of bread. Okay, Yud Zayin. Pastido, which is some sort of it's some sort of pastry with meat and fish and contents of like that. So pastida hanefe betano bebosa bedogim begvino with the cheese even. Mevoich olav hamoitzi. You make hamoitzi on it to b'rechas hamazon. V'davke she'afo betano beloi mashke. Now that's only if you cook it like a bread. So it's got some sort of loaf of bread which is filled with one of these fillings. But that's only if you bake it in an oven, and it looks like a bread, and it's got some sort of filling. But if you bake it in a pan with liquid, then then you don't make hamoitzi or b'rechas hamazon, and then in that situation you should eat it b'toich suda. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sadi Gimel, hanefe b'tanavu adin hanefe b'ilfas b'lei mashke. So too, mevarich olav hamoitzi. So in that situation, it looks like a bread. It just has a filling. You make hamoitzi. Hainu afilu b'deloi kov alayu. Even if you have a small amount of it, even if you're not kovei suda, which means you don't have a large volume of it, then you still make hamoitzi. V'loi domi. You're going to tell me we spoke about meatloaf and deli roll a couple of days ago. V'loi domi lepasabo b'kisnin. It's different to that. To pirush pasam amula b'peris of a tavlin. There we spoke about strudel and things like that. Apple pie and things, unless you have a lot of it, several pieces, a whole pie of whatever it is of apple pie, but you don't make a b'rechas hamoitzi and b'rechas hamazon. There's different, because one of the three definitions of mazonos of pasabo b'kisnin was either it's a filled pie, or it's a flavored dough, or it's a very brittle cracker type thing. That was our definition of very many mazonos. If you have enough of those, then you make hamoitzi and b'rechas hamazon. But there, the point was for that first category, a filled pie. It's the masika. It's like a dessert type of thing. This is very different. It's a loaf of bread. You just put some things inside it, and it looks like a bread, but just filled with meat and fish or cheese or whatever you fill it with. Mashenkin pastida, mashenkin awan, shemula bebosa derech la'achol neravin kadei l'spoya. That's the mainstay of the meal. It's just like having a meat sandwich, right? Who said the Earl of Sandwich invented sandwiches? This is way before. Vanira poshet De'im asuyin rakikin katanim umurban petitin shabasa. If you've got small crackers and you've got meat inside them, v'nika she'ein asuyim kim l'kinuach ha'chasuda, it's like more of a dessert type thing. Dinoi mamish kapas shem urva peres. Then it would have the status of Pasababa Kisnin. If you just look at 71, interesting, we're talking about Bourekas. So Bourekas is exactly, what do you do about Bourekas? Now we will make Mazonis on Bourekas. So take a look at 71. V'chein Bourekas Katanim, Shiragim Lafes Bismanin, which are very common nowadays. They're filled with potato or cheese. They're eaten as, for satiation. It's not the mainstay of the meal. It's like an additional part. It's added to the course. It's an additional extra to a meal. So Nissan Karel, it's Shadinum Kapasa Boba Kisnin. Therefore, it has the status of Mazonis, Birchos and Bermin Mazonis. Omnam, Bourekas Gedolim. But you could differentiate and say that very large Bourekas, like pies, Hamameluim Bedvarim Hamaspim, which are filled with things which are going to satiate you, Das Hagon of Karelitz, Shalacher Din Kapastida, that could be the din of our pastida, and a Birchosam HaMoitzi. However, he brings the Birkei Yosef, etc. Okay, whatever. That's so which could be different. Okay, but therefore the best thing to do in any case of Sofik is wash and then eat it, etc. Let's just finish off the Mishnah Berurah. V'dad the pas shenefes b'mei beitzim. But realize that bread which is baked with egg. With eggs rather than with water, kichel, crackers or something. Mistapim moganav, yeah, kichel, like a cracker you eat with herring and things like that. Mistapik amogan avramim who bichlal paspa kisnin. Now that's a suffix, because if you've got bread which is baked with eggs rather than with water, then it's a suffix. Is it bread? Is it mazoinus? But derech Chaim va'agraz yichlitu to bichlal paspa kisnin. They say if it's baked with eggs, then it's got a din of mazoinus of paspa kisnin. V'chein mogan av giberin v'chein aminig. V'achach mosas shekein kosov gamkein b'hagos hagra, which is of course is what we do. We consider that mazoinus. When we call mogan kosov mogan giberim to yori shemaim layichel kim keshekol halisha. Who al mebeitzim. When does it got a status of mazoinus? When all of the liquid that is needed with the flour is mebeitzim. V'loni sarv b'mayim klal. There's no water whatsoever. V'nira d'imhu dak v'yovish. If it's dry and thin and brittle, v'ein lahachme afinu nisar b'mayim. Even if it's got some water in it, then you shouldn't be machme. And therefore, the crackers and the kichels that we use nowadays, for sure, they're mazoinus. Even though they've got water in them, they fulfill this criteria of being thin and dry. Tzadihei. Ein levorich. So this is going back to our bread, which has got meat or fish or cheese or whatever inside it. He says that is considered like a proper bread, and therefore you'd make hamoitzi. Dahainu afilu kova sudo alai. Sorry, this is going on the Ramah. What I just described was the mechaba, but the Ramah says v'dafke shafo b'tana b'le mashka. That's if you bake it in an oven without any mashka, like a bread. But if you put it on a frying pan with liquid, then you make mazoinus. Right? That was the Ramah. So on that says the Mishnah Berurah, hainu afilu kova sudalai, because it lost its status of bread, and it's more like a pasta that we spoke about. That as much pasta as you have, you never make birchas hamotzi or birchas hamazon. So even if you're kaver sud on this last thing, which you fry it in a pan with liquid, that's not considered bread at all. The dovazet tali beplugta, because this actually is the machlokas we had in Sifut Gimel. The leder rishona there, according to the first opinion, kimishin is bashal b'mashka yotzim miteras lechem legamrei, and we call him because if it's cooked with liquid, then it's lost its status of bread, and therefore it's always got a din of mazonos. And according to the second opinion there in the Mechaba, he says kim denolish belila ava, since the dough is a thick dough, it doesn't just flow. It's not like a liquidy dough; it's a thick, solid dough. For hoyalov. Shame Issa Gemur, it's got a status of a proper Issa. So just putting in a frying pan doesn't take away its status of bread. That was the machlokas in Yud Gimel. So you got a bit of a machlokas what to do with a thick dough which is baked with liquid in a frying pan. So therefore, he says Valkain ein kadai lirei shemaim levarich olav. Therefore, because therefore the best eitzah to avoid this machlokas, if you're not sure, is to actually wash, have it b'toich suda, and then you're covered. Okay, beseder. We'll do it there.